All right, so yours is a little bit more confusing here because you'd sent me some images where we wanted to look at those as what your real intent was with your project, and that's a little bit different than what you had for your midterm. So your midterm fulfills everything, but I think there were images in your midterm, like the pumpkin image, that are seasonal and not telling this like lifelong story that you're trying to create it. It's more about a certain time instead of about all of this time and a cumulative time. So I think you made some good edits there. But looking at the beginning of this, this is the first page of your PDF for your portfolio, and I would say that you want to have a simpler font here. We'll go over that in class, or I can post it for you if you want that sooner than later, about what fonts are acceptable and simple and not distracting, and also what fonts work well together. We don't want two fonts that are so different. And then as far as your web page here, I would capitalize J, capitalize T, capitalize P for photography. And then I don't think you need your phone number there. We used to have students always put their phone numbers on their portfolios, but if someone's going to contact you, it's probably not going to be by phone. And if they want to contact you by phone, they could find that through your website. So I think we can simplify that a little bit more. And then the other thing I would add here is the title of your series. It's not just about photography. This is about family, and we want to know what exactly this is about. Then here we have your artist statement. And you talk about your family and then marrying into your husband's family and the similarities of that. I'd love to hear a little bit more about those similarities, how you fit into that, and your growing family, I think, is an important part of that. Of course, we're only seeing your husband and your first child at this point for your series. And I guess what's missing from the art statement is also why you want to photograph this, why photographing this series is important to you, why it's not just a lived experience, but you want to document it. All right, so then I went into Photoshop and I was looking at what you had as far as your images that you were removing from the series. And you were removing your vertical images. So we have this image, which I think is fine to eliminate. This image is fine to eliminate because it's repetitive of this image. Can you see my mouse? Of this image here. Then you're eliminating this image, which is kind of too bad, but I know you're trying to work with all horizontal images. And then I agree that we don't need all of these images of the winemaking, but this is the most obvious of the process, right? Where we have the press and we have the wine actually coming out. So I find that an interesting image. I wonder if you could just pull back on some of these highlights so it's more workable in your portfolio. Now looking at your series here, these are the images that you turned into my office that you're considering for your final project. This is 20 images. And you're trying to figure out what's missing or what you could add. And part of this is going to be kind of the storyline that you want to tell. And I think it's important that you keep coming back to this relationship between your husband and your son. Now, that's not where we set it, but like all of these images get kind of scattered throughout the series, opposed to like right next to each other here, or even here right next to each other. This is your strongest image. I'd probably make that your third image. You want people to like get into it, or it could be your last image. It would work really well as your last image also. And I wouldn't start with an image of your son and your husband because I think that isn't what this is all about. This series is about the larger story here. Just wondering, yeah, your son's kind of back in that image. I'm looking at which images is he in, is he not? So maybe an image like this or an image like this would be a good place to start, where you have the whole family together around the table eating, and really sharing that joy that's such a big part of your life. So starting off with an image like this, then you could move into an image that's more about your husband and son, maybe not that image quite yet. And then moving back to the family and seeing the whole family. Um, yeah, I think having a little bit more here about like being playful, being outside, then maybe coming back inside. This is one of my favorite images, is them sitting at the table together. You could move outside. If you're going to have these images on pages that are facing each other, then I think you could include these two images of the winemaking with that bright red, obvious subject in it. If not, I would just include the one with your son, because then it's more about the tradition and passing it along. Let's see, then I think, so I'd pick this one and probably eliminate that one, possibly bring in the image with the press in this space. And then maybe moving here. And then back to family. I love this new image of the sausage. You can move back outside with your husband and your son. This is probably the weakest image of all of your images here. It just doesn't have that like family feel that all of your images have. It feels like they're preparing for something, but that's not really known. With like, here they're preparing for something, here they're cleaning up after something, and what it is really known. This seems like an unknown. Yeah, I think this could work for your series, just mixing it up. So thinking about your husband outside, or something that might be a little bit more just about your husband and son, move those and separate those throughout the series, so we keep coming back to that like root, that core that you have of your family. I think this is a great image of them pouring out those bottles, rinsing out the bottles afterwards. So playing with your series, and what I want you to think about is, what is the story that you're telling us with these? It's more about family, and in addition to the larger family, you also want to be telling us about your connection, or your husband's connection with your son, and how that fits into all of this. So reminding us periodically of that throughout this series is going to help. Let's see, like I said, yeah, this is the one image I might add back in, but otherwise I think everything else is working well. If there was another image of everyone eating outside, I think this is a nice image that you've added. And seeing a larger family gathering outside, I think would be really nice if the weather's still holding for you guys, or all sitting around this couch later in the evening. Something else where everyone is around, if that's still happening. I'm sure it is with the holidays coming up and whatnot.